Hello, everyone. How are you? This is Dr. Olufade. I hope you're blessed and you're doing well. I wanted to bring it to your attention that I authored a children's book for age 5 through 8 a few months ago. And the book looks something like this. Let me see if I can bring it onto the screen, if you can see it very clearly. The title of the book is Have You Ever Wondered How the Turtle Got Its Crop Back? So the primary purpose of writing the book was to preserve an oral tradition. Our elders in Africa used to share with us when I was growing up. I fondly remember those evenings from my childhood when we will gather in our compound after supper beneath the sky, roasting corn. There's usually a fire, like a fire barn. I think that I can call it that way. We put some woods together to warm everybody up, and our elders were sharing these wonderful stories. One of the beauty about what I remember growing up, many of us children in the neighborhood come together. And these gatherings were not only entertaining, but they also carry a lot of deep cultural significance. So, according to the story that I remember, and I try to write it down as much as I can, I remember now many different Africa we probably have a similar story, but the story may not be told exactly, but the moral of the story is compelling, and the value of the story is basically the same. The story is set in a distant land called Asorock, where there are two friends. Ako, who is the great blue heron, and Ajapa, who is the great turtle. They lived peacefully for quite a long time. Ako was known as the king of Asorock because of his exceptional skill in fishing. As you can see in this picture, Ako is in the middle of the river. So this is his domain. And on the other hand, Japa is known and celebrated because of his longevity and also wisdom. He also has a very strong shell or back. Their friendship, however, was challenged one day when there was a message of a bird of a prince in Aye kingdom, basically in the bird's kingdom. Aye in Yoruba means bird. So there was going to be a grand celebration welcoming the birth of a newborn child to the royal family called Idiade. So he is going to be the heir to the throne. So the catch was that only Ako was invited because Ako, the great blue heron, is a bird. And he has a title. But on the other hand, Ajapa is not a bird, but he wanted to go to this grand celebration. Despite Ajapa's desire to attend, um, Ako knew that the tortoise, it's slow and he's not a bird. And let's say if Ako was to journey to the Aye kingdom, Ajapa, he will not be able to arrive on time. It will take a very long time to get to the Aye kingdom. However, after some negotiation between Ako and Ajapa, Ako decided or relented and decided that he was going to take Ajapa with him. So Ako carried Ajapa on his back out of loyalty and friendship, despite the extra burden and Ajapa's lack of formal invitation. The challenge here was when they arrived at the celebration at the Aya Kingdom, they were greeted by a grand banquet hall filled with tempting food that left Ajapa captivated. I don't have it. I don't have that banquet hall in this picture, but I do have the great hall where Idea was being celebrated. As you can see, the priest is the one lifting Idiade up to show the crowd, and the father and the mother standing beside. But during the ceremony, as the infant prince was being presented and anointed, Ajapa couldn't resist the allure of the feast. That's all he thinks about. He was just thinking. He just couldn't help himself. So he snipped away and indulged in the food. As you can see, he's rummaged through the table, and in the process, he fell asleep amidst his gluttony. When the guests came and discovered the lavish banquet and the sleeping Ajapa, they were astonished and full of question. Apple felt deeply embarrassed by bringing his uninvited friend out of loyalty. So, on the way back home, as you can see in this picture, on the way back home, the environment was filled with a lot of tension, and there was a lot of silence between the two friends. Pa finally begged Akko to break his silence. Akko finally voiced his anger and disappointment. And that is very much understandable. Imagine if you bring a friend to a special occasion and the friend embarrassed you. How will you feel? Japan was filled with remorse, admitted to his friend of his overindulgence. And then he went further to admit to his friend that he stole the king's crown. Oh, that's not good. This revelation sent Akko into a furious rage, causing Ajapa to fall from Akko's back, and as he fell onto the ground, and in the process, he cracked his back. The interesting thing is, despite despite Akko's anger at his friend, Akko forgave Ajapa. Now, the question is, will you do that? How many of you will forgive a friend or someone who has wronged you? But Akko did. He forgave Ajapa. As far as he's concerned, Ajapa has learned his lesson. And he even helped Ajapa an apology letter to the Aya Kingdom, to the royal family, and returned the stolen crown. In this situation, Akko's wisdom prevailed as he understood that holding onto resentment will only taint his own heart. And Ajapa's ordeal has served as a lesson when being confronted with temptations. I think this is pretty relevant in our time. One of the great things that I learned, that I really enjoy about the stories that is being shared with us, it's amazing to me that our elders is the ability of communicating the importance of moral standard without having to sit us down and lecture us. Our elders share moral values, standards, things that's important, keeping the communities of society together through stories. And I feel that there is a value to that as a modern people how many of us really has down or share the importance of moral standards through stories? So, like in this story, the story explored the importance of friendship, the consequence of one's action, the power of forgiveness, and the need for self-restraint. This book is really important not only for Africans but for everyone. It doesn't really matter what part of the world you're from. I believe that one of the things that keep our community, our society together is our understanding that we all have certain principles that guide our community. For example, the principle of friendship, the principle of not stealing, not lying, right? The principle that guide us against jealousy or envy. The book addresses a moral standard and it uses traditional storytelling to foster and instill value in the younger generation. I'm hoping that this story that I shared convey the value and ethical principle in an engaging, relatable manner, drawing from the cultural narrative. In today's modern society, many of us live in urban areas and cities, and it makes it challenging for our children to experience the joy of sitting outside at night with neighbors listening to stories from the past shared by wise elders. I hope that through my book, I have contributed and I played a small part as a father in passing down this cultural rich story, allowing every child to enjoy and appreciate something valuable from our cultural heritage. Additionally, I pray and I aspire to a future where our society can afford our children the luxury of experiencing the experience that I and many of you have had as children growing up. Please buy this book. Have you ever wondered how the turtle got its cracked back? The theme in the story include the importance of friendship, the consequence of one's action, the power of forgiveness, and the need of self-restraint. You can find this book at Amazon, Barnes& and Nobles, eBay, Waterstone. You can find the book at Walmart. You can find the book at Yahoo Shopping. The book is all over the place. The other beauty about buying the book is 10% of whatever I made from the book will go towards a STEM initiative, whether here in the United States of America or in Africa. I'm a STEM educator. My job is to make sure that I help our children with skills that will better their life now and forevermore. You can check me out on LinkedIn. I am there. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I hope your children enjoy the book. The book is really engaging. At the end of the book, there's some questions that you can discuss with your children. At the end of the book, you can ask your children what is the moral of the story. You can have a good conversation. The other thing you can do, the other question you can ask is, should Ajapa have eaten the food? I think that will spring up a lot of good conversation. And then the other question is, how do you think Ako should have handled this situation? I think these questions are very important. Again, I want to thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.